On New Year's Day, while you were popping champagne and watching the ball drop, something terrifying happened in the back end of the global banking system. At exactly 12:01 a.m. on January 1st, 2026, a new set of banking protocols officially went live. There was no press conference. There was no breaking news alert on CNN. But if you read the fine print of the terms of service update that you blindly clicked accept on yesterday, you would know that the rules of money just changed forever. We have officially moved from the pilot phase to the enforcement phase. For the last 2 years, they told us that central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, were just experiments. They told us they were optional. They lied. On January 1st, the digital yuan laws in China and the new Payment Stablecoin Act here in the West synchronized. The door to the cage quietly locked, and most people didn't even hear the click. Here is the reality of what just happened. Your money is no longer your private property. It is now a conditional privilege. Think about that distinction. Property is yours. You can burn it, bury it, or give it away. Privilege is granted, and privileges can be revoked. If you tried to send more than $600 on Venmo or Zelle this morning, you might have noticed a new verification delay. That isn't a glitch. That is the AI surveillance grid waking up. We are currently living through the greatest theft in human history. But they aren't stealing your money by breaking into your vault. They are stealing it by changing the definition of what money is. They are turning it from a bearer asset into a control mechanism. And the scariest part? The technology they activated on New Year's Day includes a feature that should terrify every single person watching this video: the expiration date. Subscribe right now, because in this video, I'm going to show you the code they just activated, and I'm going to show you the only way to opt out before the cage closes completely. Comment $glitch if you are ready to see the truth. Most people think the danger of CBDCs is just privacy. They think, I don't care if the government sees me buying coffee, but they are missing the bigger picture. The government doesn't just want to see you buy the coffee, they want to force you to buy the coffee. This brings us to the expiration date protocol. In the traditional world, money is a store of value. If you work hard today and earn $100, you can put that $100 under your mattress for 50 years. It is yours. You can pass it to your children. But in the new digital code that went live in China's Shenzhen pilot program, they tested a feature that destroys this concept completely. They gave the money a best before date. Here is how it works. The government sends you a digital stimulus check for $1,000. But there is a catch. The code attached to that money says, must be spent within 30 days. If you try to save it for a down payment on a house, deleted. If you try to keep it for an emergency fund, deleted. If you haven't spent it by February 1st, the balance simply reverts to zero. Why would they do this? Because the central bankers are terrified of deflation. They hate it when you save. When you save, you aren't spending. When you aren't spending, the GDP goes down. So, they have engineered a currency that punishes savers and rewards spenders. They are turning the US dollar from an asset into a hot potato. This creates a society where capital accumulation is impossible for the working class. You cannot build generational wealth if your money rots every month. You become a hamster on a wheel, running just to spend what you earned before it vanishes. And if you think, that's China, that can't happen in America, you need to wake up. The technology to do this is already built into FedNow, the US Federal Reserve's new instant payment system. And that system just entered its final adoption phase. This brings us to the weapon they are using to deploy this system in the United States: FedNow. If you listen to the media, they tell you FedNow is great. They say it allows you to pay your bills instantly. No more waiting 3 days for a check to clear. It's just like Venmo, but better. This is the Trojan horse. They are using convenience to bait you into the trap. Because in the world of surveillance, convenience is the enemy of freedom. Here is the technical reality of what FedNow actually is. Before FedNow, when you sent money from Chase to Wells Fargo, it went through a decentralized clearinghouse system. It was slow, clunky, and hard for the Federal Reserve to micromanage. FedNow replaces that with a direct line to the central bank. It is a centralized ledger where the Federal Reserve sits in the middle of every single transaction in real time. Why does this matter? Because once the rails are fully adopted, they can change the rules of the road. Right now, FedNow is just a payment system, but the software is designed to be upgradable. They can push an update tomorrow that says, block all transactions to firearms dealers. Block all transactions to unapproved news sites. Block all transactions for carbon-heavy travel. Because the system is instant, the censorship is also instant. In the old system, if the government wanted to freeze your account, they had to get a court order, send it to the bank, and wait for a human to process it. You had time to react. With FedNow, It is an algorithm. If you trigger a risk flag, like buying too much gold or donating to the wrong protest, the system can lock you out of the economy in milliseconds. You don't get a trial. You just get a transaction declined message. They didn't build FedNow to help you pay your electric bill faster. They built it so they could turn off your electricity faster, and while they are tightening the digital noose, they are simultaneously looking for a new source of cash to bail out their bankrupt system. And that leads us to the most immediate threat to your life savings, the 401k trap. While they are building the digital cage with CBDCs, they are also preparing the greatest wealth transfer in history. To understand this, you have to look at the macro crisis hitting Washington in February 2026. The US government is hitting the debt ceiling again. They need to borrow another $2 trillion just to keep the lights on this year. But there is a problem. Nobody wants to lend them the money. China is selling US bonds. Japan is selling. Saudi Arabia is selling. The foreign buyers have gone on strike. So who is left to buy the debt? If the Federal Reserve prints the money, we get hyperinflation. They can't do that. They need a captive buyer. They need a pool of money that cannot say no. And they found it. It is the $40 trillion sitting in American retirement accounts, 401ks, and IRAs. Here is the plan they are whispering about in Congress right now. It is called the Automatic IRA Act, or the Retirement Security Act. The names sound safe. They sound boring, but the mechanism is theft. The law will require that all qualified retirement plans hold a minimum percentage, let's say 25% of their assets in safe government bonds. They will sell it to you as protection. They will say, the stock market is too risky. We are protecting your future by forcing you to hold risk-free treasury bonds. Do not fall for it. They aren't protecting you. They are using you as the exit liquidity. They are taking your hard-earned savings and using them to bail out their bankrupt government. This turns your 401k into a lobster trap. You crawled in because you wanted the tax break, the bait. You put your money in for 20 years, but now, when the system is collapsing, you will find that the exit is blocked. They will impose gatekeeping rules, limits on withdrawals, higher penalties for early exit, or mandatory allocations to failing bonds. You will watch inflation hit 10% while your safe government bonds pay you 4%. You are guaranteed to lose money every single year. And because it's in a 401k, you legally cannot touch it until you are 59 and a half. By the time you get the keys to the cage, the lobster will already be cooked. We have established that the digital prison is being built. The walls are the CBDC, the lock is FedNow, and the bait is your 401k. It feels hopeless. It feels like there is no escape, but there is a backdoor. There is one specific weakness in their system that they cannot fix. The entire digital control grid relies on one thing: electricity and permission. If you take away the internet connection, their power over you evaporates. This brings us to the only strategy that works: the analog lifeboat. To survive the great reset of money, you must move a portion of your wealth outside of the digital system. You need to follow the 10-foot rule. If you can't hold it in your hand within 10 feet of where you are sitting, you don't own it. If it is on a screen, it is a claim. If it is in your hand, it is property. This is why they hate physical silver and gold. It isn't because they are shiny rocks. It is because they are private, peer-to-peer, and permissionless. I can hand you a silver eagle for a loaf of bread, and 1, the government doesn't know. 2, the bank can't stop it. 3, the expiration date doesn't apply. Silver is the anti-CBDC. It is the kryptonite to the surveillance state because it leaves no digital footprint. While everyone else is begging the algorithm to unfreeze their account so they can buy food, the person with physical metal is their own central bank. This is why China, the same country pushing the CBDC hardest, is also importing record amounts of gold. The government knows the truth. Digital for the peasants, physical for the elites. So, the solution is simple but urgent. You need to become bi-monetary. Keep enough digital cash to pay your bills and play their game. But for your life savings, the money you cannot afford to lose, you need to take it off the grid. You need to act like a ghost. Because in a world where everything is tracked, privacy is the ultimate luxury, and the only way to buy privacy is with an asset that doesn't need Wi-Fi. We have covered the law change, the expiration dates, the FedNow trap, and the 401k confiscation. The picture is clear. The digital prison is not a conspiracy theory for the future. It is the operating system for 2026. So, what is the verdict? You cannot stop it. You cannot vote your way out of this. You cannot protest your way out of this. The system is too big and the technology is already installed, but you can exit. The goal is not to defeat the CBDC. The goal is to make yourself immune to it. You need to build a personal economy that functions parallel to theirs. This week, I want you to take one specific action. Do an audit of your dependency. Ask yourself, if my bank app stopped working for 7 days, would I starve? If the answer is yes, you are in the danger zone. Here is your immediate action plan. 1. Get cash. Keep 1 month of expenses in physical paper cash at home. This is your first line of defense against a grid down scenario or a frozen account. 2. Get metal. Move a percentage of your long-term savings out of the digital ledger and into physical silver and gold. This is your wealth insurance that cannot be deleted or expired. 3. Get local. Build relationships with local farmers, mechanics, and tradesmen who accept cash or barter. Build a network that doesn't rely on a QR code. The window of opportunity is closing. Right now, you can still legally withdraw your money. You can still legally buy anonymous gold and silver. You can still legally move capital across borders. But as the debt crisis heats up in February, capital controls are coming. They will lower the limits. They will increase the fees. They will ask more questions. Eventually, the door will shut completely. Do not wait until you see the withdrawal limit sign on the ATM to panic. Panic early. Beat the rush. We are entering a new era of civilization where there are 2 types of people: the logged in, who eat what they are told, spend when they are told, and own nothing, and the opted out, who hold their own keys, own their own assets, and remain free. The choice is yours, but you have to make it now. In the next video, we are going to look at the other side of this coin. While the government is trying to lock down the digital money, the biggest tech companies in the world are quietly panic buying the physical resources. I have uncovered evidence that a major tech giant is bypassing the stock market to secure a massive supply of silver directly from the mines. The shortage is real, and the industry knows it. You do not want to miss that report. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and leave the comment that defines our resistance. I am free. Stay invisible. Stay stacked. Class dismissed.